So I'm going to basically explain the IO game. So the IO game starts, you probably at this point already know the setup, but I'm going to explain it again. The IO game is played on a board with 12 holes, 6 on each side, and evenly spaced. And it's played with 48 beads. And the game starts with 4 beads in each hole. I'm going to be calling those holes houses, or that is what they are called in the game. So each hole is called a house. And then each side of the board belongs to a player. So this represents the board, and each cell represents a house, right? So 6 houses on the lower side, 6 houses on the upper side. In this case, the upper side belongs to player A, and the lower side belongs to player B. And this is how the IO game starts. So at this point, a players take turn playing moves, and as they take turn playing moves, they also collect points, right? So there are two special numbers in this game. The first one is the number 1, right? So let me just write special numbers. So the special numbers are 1 and 4. These are the two special numbers in this game, right? And I'm going to explain why they're special later on. But this is how the game starts. So the game starts by the first player. You flip a coin to decide who the first player is. But for the sake of sanity, let's say player A is always the first player, and then you can flip a coin to determine who will be player A, right? So player A starts by choosing any of his houses, right? Choosing any of these houses. And then when he chooses a house, he distributes from that house. So what does distribute mean? Distribute means that you take all the points in that house. So let's say I choose this house. I take all the points from this house. I put them in my hand. So now I have 4 points in my hand. Now, in an anti-clockwise manner, I then put those points into the board. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put these 4 bits, each one of them into this next 4 cells, since this is anti-clockwise direction. That means this guy is going to become 5, 5, 5, 5, and I'm done with distributing. Now, you have to take note of the number you stopped distributing on. If the number you stop distributing on, if it's not a special number 1 and 4, then you have to continue distributing. So you take those 5, right? And then you distribute them. It doesn't matter whether it's on the opponent side of the board, as long as it's not a special number, and that's where you stop distributing on, you take it and you continue distributing. So I take those 5, and for the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to distribute. So this guy becomes 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And I'm done with distributing. So I stopped on 5 again. And because it's not a special number, I'm going to take that 5 and distribute for the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So distributing them to become 5, 5, 1, 6, 6. And I'm done distributing. I stopped on 6. 6 is not a special number. No, it's not. So I distribute for the next 6. 6, 1, 6, 6, 6, 6. And I'm done distributing. So I stopped on 6. So I take it again, right? And I distribute for the next 6 since I took 6. So 1, 6, 6, 2, 7, 1. Now I'm done distributing. Now I stopped at 1 is a special number. So when you stop at 1, your turn has ended, right? When you stop at a special number, your turn has ended. However, 1 and 4 are different special numbers. If I stop on 1, my turn has ended and that's it, right? But let's assume this, I stopped at 4. Let's assume this was 4 I stopped at, right? If I stopped at 4, then I'm going to collect those 4 as points for myself. Do you understand? So like if I stop at 4, I collect those 4 as points for myself. So because it was player A that was playing and he stopped at 4, it doesn't matter if he stopped on the opponent side of the board. As long as he stopped on 4, he's going to collect those 4 for himself, right? And then he's done with his turn. Then player B can choose whichever part of the board he wants to play on, right? So these are the most basic rules for playing the game. Now, there are still 2 more things we haven't addressed for collecting points and for ending the game, right? I'm going to reset this board to be all zeros. Sorry, 0. And let the score be 0. So I'm going to let's assume this is 3. Let's assume this is 3. Let's assume this is 3. Let's assume this is 2. Let's assume this is 2 actually. And then let's assume this is 5. So is this a valid board? For it to be a valid board, it has to be a multiple of 12 when you sum everything. This is 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 times 3, 15. It's not a valid board, so let me just add 1 here. Or actually, let me add 1 here. Right. And the way I set this board up is also play as A's turn. So player A can choose to play this 5. Right. So he collects this 5 and he distributes them for the next 5 cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So this becomes 4, this becomes 3, this becomes 3, this becomes 4, and this becomes 2. And it's done distributed. But did he stop at a special number? No. So he collects it and he distributes them again over the next 2 cells since he collected 2. So 1, 1, and it's done distributing. Did he stop at a special number? Yes, he stopped at a special number. So his turn is done. And the special number he stopped on is not 4, so he's not collecting any points. So when somebody is done, when player A is done with his turn like this, so when somebody is done with his turn like this, he first checks his side of the board. Do I have any houses that just has 4 bits? Yes, he does. This house just has 4 bits, right? This particular house here. So if that house has just 4 bits, he then collects those bits as points for himself. Then before player B starts his turn, so player B also checks his side of the board. Do I have any house with just 4 bits? 4 bits? Yes, he does. He collects those bits as points for himself. So that way, you see that you can also collect points when a player is done playing, right? As long as those houses on the side of your board has just 4 bits, you can collect those points. One thing to note, however, is that you can only do this at the end of a player's turn. So if somebody is playing, and at some point there is 4 on the board. So let's assume this was 10, right? Let's assume this is 3, 3, 3. So this guy collects, player A wants to play from here. He collects this, puts them in his hand, and over the next 5 cells, he distributes them over the next 10 cells rather. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are going to get incremented by 1, right? So this becomes 4, 4, 1, 1. This becomes 2, 2, 1, 4, 4, 4. And he stopped at 4. So while he's distributing, right, you cannot collect this while he's distributing. He has to be done first because he can come back around and continue distributing. In this case, he stopped at 4 And since he stopped at 4, he can collect those points for himself, right? So now he has 8. And then now that he's done distributing, you can then check, okay, do I have any 4s on my side of the board? Yes, I have 3 of them. So I'm going to collect all 3 of them as points. Then player B checks, does he have any 4 on his side on his board? Yes, then he's going to collect it as points for himself as well. And that's how the game works. The reason you do not collect during the game is because, let's assume, instead of stopping at 4, let's assume he stopped at 5. He will then take this 5 and distribute them again over the next 5 cells to become 1, 1, 5, 5, 2, right? And continue distributing. So then you can no longer collect this anymore. So that's the first thing about collecting points. Then the second thing I wanted to touch on is about valid moves, right? So a move is valid. Let me set up a board. Let me set up this board. Let this be 3. Let this be 1. Right? Let this be 5 and let this be 3. So a move is valid. Actually, no. Let this be 5 and let this be 3. So a move is valid if and only if by the time you're done playing the moves, there are either one of 2 cases occurs, right? So either that there are no bids left at all, or there are bids left for the opponent to play, right? So a bid is valid when this condition is met. So if I say I want to play from this house by taking it and distributing it, then player B would have nothing to play with. And in that case, there will be no bids left for the opponent to play. So this move will be invalid, right? I cannot play from this house. That's an invalid move. Likewise, I cannot play from this house, because if I play from this house, I increment 6 to 1, and I stop here, and there's nothing for this player to play with. So it's also an invalid move. The only valid move at this point of the board is either playing from here or playing from here, right? In this case, I would opt to play from here, because if I play from this cell, I will distribute it over the next 5 cells as 2, 1, 4, 1, 1. And since I'm done, I can collect this 4 from the side of the board as points, right? However, if you play the other valid move, that's this 3, then it's just 1, 1, 1. And in this case, you can't collect any points. So it's a valid move, but not a good move, right? These are valid moves. Now, the second condition is met when there are only, that this first condition rather, there are no bits left at all. So this comes to ending the game, right? So ending the game, let's assume you have 3. This is 2, this is 2, and this is 1, and it's player's A's turn. So at this point, there are just 8 bids left. Player A can then choose to play from this house. So 0 and 4 is a special number. I take it as points for myself, so it's also 4. Right. Now, there are just 4 bids left. And if there are 4 bids left on the board, the person who scored last, in this case, player A scored last. So the person who scored last will then take all those bids in the board for himself. So player A took all the remaining 4 bids since he scored last. So to come again on that point, if there are just 8 bids left in the board, there are just 8 bids left. The person who scores next takes everything. So if I play this move to be 4, and I've scored this 4 for myself as 8, because I just scored, and because there are just 4 bids left, I then take everything. So whoever scored last, if there are 4 bids left, whoever scores last takes everything. And because it takes everything, there will be no bids left at all. So it's a valid move, right? So that's everything. So that's everything about the IO game. And I'm going to run an example for you. So this is an implementation of the game. Actually, I'm going to cancel this. I think how many times did I run it? Okay. So I'm going to run this game from here. And player 0 plays up, player 1 plays down, right? I'm going to play from here. And you see that I'm now distributing bits 5, 5, 5, 5. I take the 5 and I distribute it over the next 5. I stop here. I take this 5. I distribute it over the next 5. I stop here and take the 6, distribute it over the next 6. I stop here and take the 6, distribute it over the next 6. And now, since I stopped on a special number 1, I'm done with my turn. And now player B can then play his own turn. So he can take this 6 and distribute it over the next 6. I stop here, I take this 8, distribute it over the next 8 or 9. I don't know exactly how many bits that was. I stopped at 3. I took the 3 and distributed it. Now I stopped at 4. So now player B stopped at 4 and he has taken it as fault for himself, right? That's why his score here has incremented it by 4. And now it's player A's turn. So that way they can continue playing the game. So player A can play from here and distributes the bits until it stops. So he stopped at 2, that's why he's distributing again. And now he stopped at 1, right? So now his players, what's it called? His players B's turn, and player B can choose, oh, player B says, if player A plays this one move here, he's going to stop at 4 and take points from my side. So player B plays this, distributes them, and then takes this is now a special number and distributes it, so on and so forth. Right. So player B stopped at 1 here. And when player B stopped, there was a 4 here and there was a 4 here. And player B can now, since those 4s were on each side of the board, like for example, player B stopped, there was a 4 on the side of the board, player B took it and incremented the scores, and player A took his own points for the side of the board. And the game can continue, so it's player 0's turn. And yeah, I'm just going to keep on playing the game. I would no longer be giving explanations until the end of the game where there is going to be a new concept to explain. Okay, so at this point in the game now, there are 8 bids left, right? So whoever scores the next point wins the game. Or not really wins the game, takes all the bids that are left. So it takes all the 8 bids in the board, right? So the score is 24-16. So if player one should score next, he's going to then tie the game after being down 8 points, because he's going to not only take 4 points from scoring next, but he's going to take the remaining 4 points since there are 8 bids left in the board when he scored the points. So I'm going to try to make player one score the next points so you can see what I'm trying to say. It's so tough to end the game. I'm just going to let player zero win this, to be honest. So the game can end. All right, so player zero is about to score. He scores, he takes the points and takes everything. The player zero wins the game. So that's it basically.